Hey, how's it going, guys? Thanks for dropping by. So in this video, I want to talk about the sound of the iconic album Transylvanian Hunger, the fourth album by Darkthrone. I'm not going to get much into the history, controversy, or lore of the band. I simply want to talk about the overall sound of this particular album because it's so unique. I could also include or combine Under a Funeral Moon and Panzerfaust to this video because they follow the same sort of black metal theme and formula. But to me, Transylvanian Hunger has the purest black metal sound. The songs have a very consistent style, whereas the other two kind of jump around from genres a bit. I like when an album is completely consistent from start to end. It just feels or just sounds very complete. So from the first note, you are immediately immersed into this cold, esoteric sound, which immediately reminds you of the winter. And just like the winter, the sound of this album is very isolating, bleak, simultaneously depressing or melancholic, as it is uplifting and moshing, which is an interesting blend actually when you think about it. It's depressing but also melancholic and uplifting. It's like, how did they pull that off? It's strange. The lo-fi sound definitely creates an aesthetic and feel to it. Had they gone to a pro studio and done it like their first album, Soulside Journey, it wouldn't have had the same visceral reaction, and it wouldn't have sounded as special. And frankly speaking, I don't like 99.9% of lo-fi black metal albums, but Darkthrone is just so damn unique and cool sounding. It has this blend of evil punk and speed metal. It's just so unique. One of the reasons we're creating this video is that I've heard countless black metal bands attempt to chase the second wave of black metal sound from the 90s. However, their idea of lo-fi just doesn't sound very good or unique most of the time. They will do stupid things like record on their smartphones, children's tape recorders, and break all the standard rules of recording and mixing, such as recording at clipping volumes, or using so much distortion on guitar, bass, and vocals that it's indistinguishable. They also turn off impulse responses, so it's just a wall of static fuzz, or use distortion and compression plugins right to the max, so it just sounds harsh and pumped and just really bad. None of these ideas are really good, and we'll get down to what actually works. Firstly, we have to acknowledge that we wouldn't have Transylvanian Hunger without the Burzum album Hebe Lee Set Taurus. Obviously, this is where Fenriz got the idea or inspiration from, and Varg was a part of that album, so they were working hand in hand on developing this sound together in a weird way, maybe kind of an indirect way. But Fenriz took that sound of the faster songs on that Burzum album, and he distilled it down to just the fastest ones and just made it more like speed metal, straight ahead, very direct, to the point. Before we go over the specifics, here's a clip of Fenriz talking about the general sound and production of Transylvanian Hunger.
We went from larger studios this time to a 4-track Necro Hell studio. Ended up being like just one fucking track on the drums. Drums were never fucking important for Darkthrone, for me at least. And in black metal, I think drumming is not important. Drumming is just supposed to be there, just be there. And guitar riffs are the most important things to make the vibe, not some fucking third, fourth guitar solo or guitar upon that or synthesizer or whatever. If it's cold enough and if it's dark enough and if it's real enough, black metal feeling is supposed to soothe through material. So we did Transylvanian Hunger, so fucking cold, and it turned out that the two guitarists on there with the finger moving riffs all the time was the sound was fucking perfect. When people review or think of that album today, some said it's minimal, other people say it's minimal, and most people say it's minimalistic. That's what it was. I think it's not before the 5th song on that fucking album, the fucking beat just something like this. Another album that some people say is pure black metal, some people say it's pure black metal, and the critics say it's pure black metal. I don't know.
It's a very riff-based album.
I always say all the stuff of Darkthrone is riff-based. Always riffs, riffs, riffs.
So to recapitulate what Fenris said, he recorded on a 4-track tape recorder in his bedroom studio. He signed 1 track for drums, recorded with 2 microphones, just 2. 1 track on bass, 2 tracks for guitars, and they ran out of tracks, so they had to go to a studio for vocals. The sound of the drums and the style are basically approached like folk or classical music, where it's just there. It's not really the main focus like death metal or speed metal, where it's up front in the mix and it's very busy, and it's like pretty much the main focus is the drumming. Whereas with this style, he puts the drums way in the back, and the guitars and the melody is up front. In terms of guitar tone, Fenris says he can't remember which kind of gear he was using, but it seems like he was using like a solid state PV or Marshall practice amp, based on the complete mid-range focus and lacking of any bass. And it seems like the bass was actually probably going through the same amp, because they both have distortion and that mid-range focus. The only traditional rules that this album really breaks or goes against is the purposeful usage of cheaper mics, minimalistic miking on the drums, but other than that, the levels aren't clipping and they aren't creating any static distortion, and it follows the basic rules of recording. So the key components which made this album sound really classic is obviously the super catchy riffs, the neoclassical kind of riffs that they're just very memorable and they live in your head for the rest of your life. So that's obviously the first thing. You have to write good riffs. The raw lo-fi sound is simply because they recorded on a 4-track tape. However, the sound was enhanced by recording vocals at a studio and having it professionally mixed and mastered. The drumming style is stripped down, repetitive, non-distracting, and in the background, audible but low in the mix. The guitar and bass sit in the mid-range with a copious amount of gain. There's really not much bass going on. The vocals do not have any effects or reverb or recording at a professional studio. It seems like a Shure SM7B was used on the vocals, because the vocals, they sound very clear compared to everything else. So that's basically it, dudes. If Fenris runs into this video somehow, it would be awesome to see what I got wrong and what I got right, or if he has any more he wants to throw into the pile of like how he did it, how he got that sound. I guess the attitude's a big deal, obviously, too. Like, you can tell that Fenris is just like a punk rocker kind of guy, and like he just wants to do things raw and nasty and just his own way. So I mean, you have to be an individual to like just think like that in the first place, and a lot of people just want to follow kind of formulas. So you have to be able to just kind of take what I've said here and apply it to your own music, and just don't rip off ideas and repeat things over and over. And I want to hear from you guys as well. If you have any tidbits or trivia that you want to mention, just drop it in the comments. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.